Welcome, friends. We are here with another live reality games podcast. I'm your co host, Kirk. And today we are talking Survivor BC Season 7, a deep dive with the one and only the infamous Tyler Kakuno. Tyler, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, Kurt. I'm very happy to do this. I had no idea you were doing all these podcasts and stuff when I was playing on the other side. I think it's amazing you did. So I'm just excited that people want to hear what I have to say at all.
I'm excited people are interested in this too. We've talked about it for about 2 years. And while you're saying that, there's so much content to cover. There's so many live reality games. We're actually still looking for more people to watch these and talk about them. So for people who end up watching this, definitely hit up the page. There's so much content to cover. But also joining us, somebody you've also seen in Survivor BC, Taylor St. Louis. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. You might have not seen her in the past season, but you definitely heard her. She was doing most of the live streaming and giving us a lot of colorful commentary along the way. It's very fun.
You're welcome.
So, I mean, this is also kind of fun for me because this is a reunion of season 5. We can do a little plug really quick. Jaira is still developing episodes. That one has yet to be determined what is the outcome. And as of right now, where we're in the season, Tyler and I are still in the game. Taylor said goodbye early on and came back to change that up. But anyways, we're going to talk about season 7. So Tyler, okay. Let's get right down to brass tacks. Did you apply for this or were you recruited?
I am a recruit. I've never seen Survivor before. No, but yeah, I was recruited. So I originally Jaira was supposed to do season 7 and 8 in May and then in July. But because of the COVID outbreak, we had to cancel one season. A lot of applicants couldn't make it across the border anymore. So I think about a month before it started, he sent me a message. He's like, Tyler, I need people. Help me make this entertaining. Would you play again? I'm like, man, I'll always play again. Just ask me anytime. And I said, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. But a big drama that comes into this, and I want to bring it up and talk about the elephant in the room, are your friends, Andrew and Aiden.
Oh,
I've played a lot of Survivors. I've played with my friends before as well. I know what that's like. Did you bring them on to the cast? Did you ask them to apply?
So the story was, so when Jaira originally asked me to play season 7, I said I was on board, but I actually had a trip planned with Aiden. Aiden and I were supposed to go on like a little road trip to something like Duclone or something. And then I didn't want to cancel him, but I knew Aiden was a huge Survivor fan too, and I knew that casting was probably lacking due to COVID. So I said, Aiden, apply, asked to be in the cast, and he got on. So and Jaira full knew my relationship with Aiden. And then the story with Andrew was Andrew applied about a week before, because I was hearing tremblings, not from Jaira, but from other people that, again, because of COVID, it was really hard to get cast members. So I said, Andrew, you may as well apply. If you want something to do, man, you might get cast, you might not. And he got cast. And so, yeah, that's what I did. Like I said, boys, apply. And if you get in, you get in. If you don't, you don't. And then if you're on, we'll work together, or not, and we'll just see what happens.
I'm super happy that happened because without the full cast rounding out, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to even watch Survivor this year, possibly. So I'm super thankful that you guys were brave enough to do it and that Jaira put it on. So, let's talk about your pre-merge game.
Okay, let's do
it. Tyler, it kind of seemed like things were similar for you. I don't know, like during a pre-merge portion, I mean, you could talk about it, but you didn't win much again.
Oh, I know. I don't know. I think I'm cursed because, by no means, when I'm on the tribe, I'm by no means the weakest on the tribe. I'm not like, oh, we're losing every challenge because of Tyler. I get points in the challenges and stuff like that, depending on what it is. But for whatever reason, my tribes do not like winning immunity. Prior to this, so up until the point you see it season 5, I'm not going to say past that, but all of what you've seen in season 5 so far, and my original season 3, and now season 7, I've only won one tribal challenge that wasn't by default or disqualification. So I have the worst record in the world. But I also don't get voted out of the pre-merge, so I do enjoy the pre-merge portion also. So it's I don't know, it's a weird thing. And I when we won the One Immunity, I was bored. I was like, what do you guys do now? Like I'm used to going back to camp. Oh, we're gonna vote someone out, and then you're just hanging around. I kind of like losing, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely more engaging, and you definitely get more screen time too.
That's what I kept telling people. I'm like, guys, don't worry about it. Everyone's talking about you guys. They're not talking about the other tribe.
So it's funny. In fact, you were talking about that one time you guys won. I want to be straight up with everybody watching. I watched as many of the live feeds, and I watched many of them, but it's hard to be there 24/7 when you're not actually present. So there's some stuff I missed. And that was one of the challenges. I didn't see everything. So I remember there were 2 puzzles. I think Kevin was doing one of the puzzles. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then somebody else was, and then I don't remember what went wrong with that challenge.
So what the challenge was, there was a bunch of blindfolded people, and then someone had to direct them, and they'd kind of go like an obstacle, like something gross to eat, or a puzzle, or there's like a dominoes you had to do too. And I was the caller for my tribe because I hate being blindfolded. And I first they grab a slide puzzle. I do that. I eat a gross thing. I eat another gross. Well, I think it was like peanut. It was like a cracker and peanut butter. But I hate peanut butter. Like I'd rather eat like anything else. And I think the production knew this, and I had to eat the peanut butter. And there was like a fried wasabi, the dominoes, and the last puzzle we got was the Rubik's Cube. And so the point of the challenge is, if you want to step out, like if you want to say I can't do this, you can call in someone from your tribe, which is when we eventually called Kevin after my time ran out. Where Andrew's side, they grabbed the other tribe, they grabbed the Rubik's Cube first. So they didn't get to do the other puzzles or the other things like that. So that's what gave us like a big lead. And Kevin is a very intelligent guy when it comes to puzzles. The game, we'll see. But he's a good guy. And he was the star that day, though. He was our star.
He absolutely was a star. He kind of blew up out of nowhere. I had my doubts. I was watching you guys all in the woods talking at one point, and I remember thinking, like, I don't buy into this dude. And then suddenly he turned it around, seemed like he was doing stuff that was so great for the tribe. And then I made that pivotal error. Do you want to talk about like kind of what was going on in your head? Because did you really want to use his idol and use him?
I wanted to keep it. He was had he not played that idol, I'm pretty certain Dylan's the next one voted out. I don't think he was even on our radar. Like that, from my perspective, that's what like Luke and I were going to do. Like Luke and I didn't talk much pre-merge, but we had a very good understanding. We're like, we both kind of need each other. We both trust each other. So I was never voting Luke, and I presume Luke was never voting me pre-merge. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he said something else. But what had happened was Kevin found the idol. I'm like, okay, we need this idol for the swap or a merge, whatever. And so when I play so far, and Taylor can attest to this, I like the idea, let's all just sit in a circle. No one goes strategize. We know who the vote is. It's always like, the odd one out, and everyone who's not the odd one out knows who it is. That round, it was Matthew. And, Matthew pulls me aside for one quick conversation. And for whatever reason, Kevin had this idea that there's a plan to split the votes on him. I mentioned that Matthew threw out his name. I didn't do that to try to cause paranoia with him or anything. I was just being honest. I was like, well, this is what Matthew said, but obviously we're not doing that. Matthew was off looking for the idol on his own, not hanging around camp. It was very obviously Matthew. I thought there's no way people could be more comfortable with it. Because it's not even about trusting us of why he'd be voted out. Like, if you just have a basic understanding of physics, you knew you weren't getting voted out. No one's gone to talk with these people. There's no chance that this could happen. And then in Tribal, he just completely blew up.
So I could see that there is a possibility that the vote could have been split 2-2-2, right? And then his idol. But that paranoia, do you think that's just a new player, the first time he's had an idol? And also, was there anything that you could have done, Tyler, do you think, to get him to not play it? I don't know if there is.
I don't know. And I know, and when I said there's a problem with physics of the vote, I just mean no one went off to talk. It was like myself, Kevin, Dylan, Stevie, and Luke all at the shelter, all at the camp together. Like, he saw us the whole time. The only two people that went off to talk to Matthew quickly was Stevie and myself. And we told them everything. So I don't know where that paranoia is from. I have a theory, and I mentioned this a lot during when playing that Orgers are not good at live games. I do not think they understand how the social dynamics actually work. They get these weird ideas in their head, like, oh, I have to play my idol. I cannot be voted out with an idol. People have these weird perceptions that they don't want to be voted out with an idol. They want, they want to make the merge. And I think when you have those weird goals in the game, it really sets you back because you'll make moves like that. And I think another problem Kevin had with me, and this is something that I've encountered with season 5 and 7, is that people watch my original seasons and they think, Tyler's the villain, Tyler's the bad guy, look at all those idiots he tricked. When in reality is they were not idiots, they just got outplayed. And they put it in their head, they're like, if I'm out there with someone like that, I'm not going to be one of those fools. I'm not going to let Tyler trick me. And they just can't get that out of their mind. Even if it feels safe, it looks safe, it seems fine, logically it seems fine, they just do not want to be known as the player who would be ousted by the obvious villain. So I think a combination of those things with the idol, having it, and he just couldn't handle it, and the fact that I was on the tribe, he was going to blow up no matter what. And I was begging a tribal. I thought I was being very nice. I was like, no, man, we got to stick together. It's fine. I'm not going to be mad at you after this. Like, we can move past this. You have the idol. No one wants you gone. Stick to the plan. But, like, he just he said, if you guys don't put up Tyler this round, I'm going to flip. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, what do you want me to do?
I know that was a very cool side of you to see at that tribal council. I want to go back around too. So when you guys won immunity, I went back and watched a couple confessionals, and you totally predict that Jeff is going to get voted out.
Oh yeah, I did. Yes.
Yeah. What was your hunch?
Well, A, it's Jeff, and B, it's look, again, this is the fun thing about live games is I'm a big believer of this is not Survivor. This is not an org. This is its own thing. You do it every advantage you can. And I'm sure this is true for all live games. There's certain information you can get out of certain production members if you just pry a little bit. If you just ask them the right questions. I don't want to say which production member kind of slipped the bag on that one, but you can find out information in games if you use production to your advantage. You have all these things ahead of you to use, and I think you're crazy when you don't do it. And that even goes back to my idea of getting Andrew Nate in the game. I thought, look, it's a COVID season. It's people are not as there's not going to be strong in this cast. I have friends who won't vote me out. Why wouldn't I encourage them to play if they wanted to play? Everyone has this opportunity. Everyone has friends. I'm sure people have friends who would love to do this. You take every advantage you can to help further yourself in the game. Let it be production slipping up information, having friends join the cast if possible. Like, don't lie to production about it, but if they can, why wouldn't you do it? So yeah, that's how I knew Jeff was voted out, because production slipped up and they said blindside. And interesting enough, Knight told me it was not a blindside. So I knew instantly that I could not trust Knight.
Do you think that helped your game to have Jeff gone super early? Or did it not matter?
Yeah, probably. I just can't ever see a scenario where Jeff and I work together. I don't think Jeff trusts me at all. I think even just like nothing against him personally, but I think just the kind of person I am and the kind of person Jeff is, we don't even mesh personally. So we're civil, but I just don't see us ever working together. And I think he's also one of those players who has this idea of me. He's like, I got to get Tyler out regardless.
Kevin just posted 100% was just paranoia and being too new. Won't let it happen next time. I'm hearing that. I'm excited to see Kevin play another Survivor somewhere sometime.
I would trust Kevin again. I would 100% work with him again. I thought other than the big, everyone has slip ups. That's what I said at the Tribal Council. Every player, new or old, will sometimes say something wrong, feel uneasy about things. The important thing is to be able to recover from that. Be like, okay, we've messed up. But you know what? It's still on our best advantage to all work together and trust each other. And if you're able to do that, I think you're onto the races.
So, Tyler, you were mentioning some orgers and the difference between an LRG and an ORG. I completely attest to that as well. But you're also known for making some inflammatory statements. There was one that kind of riled up a bunch of viewers. And I don't know. Do you have fun with this cold, icy approach to the viewership?
Yes, I do. I do have a very fun approach. I think it's fun to poke fun at the viewers and oh, you guys don't know what you're doing out here. You could never do what I'm doing. Like, obviously, there's viewers out there who are phenomenal players who I think would do very well. But a lot of it is just these people talking out of their asses half the time. And anyone who's ever played a live game knows this is true. They have no idea what's actually going on. Even when you see our confessionals, you see what's going on, you don't know the interpersonal dynamics of the relationships. So yeah, like, I like when the viewers dislike me. I like to pretend to hate them. Yes, I've made inflammatory comments about Orgers in the past, and I can address those if people want to. It's up to you guys. But no, yeah, I like the dynamic, and of course, it's all in good fun.
Yeah, I agree. I do think Tyler is right on that point. I think it's unfair to say that all orgers are stupid, because I feel like there are some that understand right away. But for everyone's first live game, those that come from orgs into live games and their first one, it's completely different, because you can't hide behind a computer screen. You're dealing with these people in person. You're dealing with their emotions. You have to find a way to like pull them away and talk to them. You can't just like side chat them. So there is that aspect of getting familiar with a live game. But once you play that first one, like, you have an idea of like how to navigate things and like the mistakes you make in your first one. So I definitely do think that Tyler has a point by saying that they don't really know what they're doing their first time.
Like, a clear example is Tyler mentioning how production is an influence in every game. And we've always speculated about TV shows like Big Brother and Survivor. But when you play in LRG, that's a fact. I mean, it is true. There's bias, there's influence, there's things they might slip up and say, there's places the camera is pointing. So I like to say production is the third team, and they can never be voted out. So they better be on your good side.
Yeah, and use it to your advantage. Like that's the other thing. Anything you can do to advance yourself in the game, do it. And I've gotten this argument with players on this season that there's some lines they wouldn't cross. Well, that's why I'm more successor than them most of the time, because I'm willing to cross those lines. And when people tell me like, oh, that's not fair, it's cheating to have pre-gaming or to have pre-existing relationships, to me, they sound like people who said to Richard Hatch making alliances was unfair. That's just what it is. You just got to change with the times, because people are going to be doing it, and you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, you should always assume multiple people know each other in a game. I think you have to go into it thinking that, and if you're not, you're doing yourself a disservice.
100%. And it's like in all of my seasons, there's been people who've known each other. My first season, everyone knew each other except for me. They're siblings and twins in the game. Like, that's just how it was. LRGs were very different back then. In season 5, there were 2 really good friends from, I think, Oklahoma or Arkansas or something like that. And that's just stuff like you got to watch out for. You have to have those senses. And that's why I say they're different from a Survivor game. Because in Survivor games, that doesn't happen. Like, I mean, I guess it theoretically could, and I think it's happened a tiny bit, but usually that doesn't happen. And I think a lot of people mix up people sometimes when they play LRGs, at least I perceive them doing this, is that they're just LARPing. They think it's a live action role play. We're like, oh, I'm on Survivor. Look at me. Like, I'm doing Finding Idols. It's not that. It's a different game, right? And you have to treat it as so. And if you LARP, you will lose.
So true. And it drives me crazy when people call these orgs too. And I play orgs. I'm currently in an org. Like, it's COVID. I'm having some fun. But it's like, no, this is totally 100% different. There is nothing the same.
I 100% agree. And I've had many arguments with people about how different orgs do not transfer over to LRGs. And I'm probably unsure if LRGs would even transfer into actual Survivor. Like, I don't even know if I've never played it. I'd be curious if there's any been actual players who have played the real Survivor and have played LRGs and orgs and see what the differences is. But it's just a different game completely.
Absolutely. I'm curious to know if Adam Klein, I think he's played an org before. I'm not sure. But
yeah, I think Andre has 2 actually, and I think she's played an LRG. So
that would be an interesting conversation for a future podcast, I think.
The differences between each 3.
So to get us back to season 7, we kind of got towards the end of pre-merge. At this point, I don't think you ever went to the island of Patmos, right?
Until I was the last. I never got a chance to go to the island of Patmos.
Yeah.
The only time I got was in in the final 6 when everyone got to go. But no, I never got to see it. The other tribe never sent me. There's actually something interesting that I guess could be a slip of my part. I didn't really mind, but Knight said, and I saw a video of him saying this, when we had the hero challenge for the reward, where Knight and Aiden took me on a McDonald's date over Kevin. Knight said it was very telling that I didn't give a shit about going to Islands of Pathmos. I wanted to just get food instead. And he said that made it look like I felt very comfortable with my tribe, which I did. It's like, it's true, so I didn't care. I was hungry. Like, I'll take any reward over any advantage in the game, no matter what position I'm in. I can be in the bottom of my tribe. If I have a chance to meet McDonald's, I'm taking it. But yeah, so Knight said that was very telling early on, that I was very comfortable. I mean, there was also me saying all the time, I'm very comfortable. There's no way I'm going home. So either of those things could have given it away. But yeah, I never got a chance to go, and I didn't really want to go. To me, there's no point. I'd rather be socializing with everyone than having any advantage.
Mm-hmm. It kept you there with everybody else, and also it inadvertently doesn't put a target on your back.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because no one knows what's really there. Even when you come back and you tell them the absolute truth, they'll just assume you're lying. Especially if it was me, they would just assume I'm lying all the time. So like there would be literally no advantage to it. And I think, thank God I wasn't the first one to go there, because I think being away from the tribe for a day would have really hurt my game, unlike Dylan's, who I think had less of a target on himself.
Do you think the hunger was harder or easier than season 3 and 5?
So I would say season 3 was the easiest in terms of hunger, although someone dumped out our food, so that sucked too. And I got really hungry.
Wait, in season 3?
Yeah, but in both
I don't remember that.
5, both people dumped out food in my seasons. So like maybe that's why we lose so much. Maybe people are dumping out food. Like season 5, obviously Austin dumped out all the food, and I was starving. Like I was like that. Those 2 days were just brutal. And this time, I was really hungry. Like it's hard for me to compare. I'm always just really hungry. I'm uncomfortable. I don't like sleeping outside of the bugs. I'm not a camper by any means. So yeah, like people always say like the hard part of these games isn't the elements, it's the people. For me, it's the elements. Like that's the hardest part. Like that's every night I'm like I could just go home right now. I don't need this. But yeah, it was actually pretty tough.
So that's good to know. So getting to that final vote before the merge. So that's where Kevin's eliminated 3-1. Did you know Stevie didn't have a vote?
Yeah, we did. So Stevie told us right away that he has an extra vote come merge, but he has given up his vote this round. Yeah, Stevie was very transparent with the tribe since day one, and that's something why I really like Stevie. And I think that's why Luke really likes Stevie. So he was just someone we can trust. Where I've always felt with Dylan, and this is where I think I had differences with him since especially near the end of the pre-merges. Dylan had his own agenda and it was very clear. And I was very aware of that. And an example of that is before the merge. So this is when Kevin's still around. We're all talking about if we swap or if we merge, whatever's happening, we all need to work on a player. We need to work on someone that we can build a relationship with and try to sway. And I remember Luke said he would talk to Andrew and stuff, which I mean it wouldn't have mattered anyways. But I was like, yeah, you do that, man. You get Andrew on our side. But I said I wanted to work on Jenny. And I said, I know both my prior seasons, my closest allies were women. For whatever reason, I seemed to work very well with them. Jenny actually went to my elementary and high school. Different, yeah. I knew everyone this season. I knew Knight, I knew everyone. But no, I was I think I could build well with Jenny. And Dylan said, no. I want to be the one to sway with Jenny. I want to be the one to build the relationship with her. He was very adamant about being the one having the relationship with Jenny. And that's when it first hit me. It's that Dylan's trying to have his own parachutes in games. Dylan will have his own agenda and do things in the future that will maybe only benefit him or, again, and I don't like to call him this, but LARP a bit. A lot of people come out here and want to make a big move for whatever reason. I don't get it. I don't care. I could sleep the whole game and get to the final 2. I'd be just as happy. But yeah, so that's when I started noticing those tendencies in Dylan from that point on. And that's why I think had Kevin not done that, I would have pushed for Dylan.
So how did you overall then sway Dylan and Stevie to your side?
I think it's just good old classic social play. I think, and maybe you both have played with me before. Maybe I'm out of left field. I think I'm a pretty good guy to hang out with. Like, I just kind of sit at camp. I tell jokes. I get along with people. I take interest in them. I try to make things fun. And I hope people like me, and I hope they want to work with me because I think, whenever people play these games, I think people have this idea, I want to work with someone no one would ever see myself working with. The complete opposite of me. I'll hate them, but we'll have a great working relationship. That doesn't work. You will never trust someone that you do not like, and they will never trust you. People want to work with people they get along with, and I think that's what I'm good at. I'm good at getting people just to get along with me. I know the viewers can't see that, and I know that it shocks them to hear that, but I think I'm a pretty good guy to hang out. But you two should know you played with me.
Yeah, I mean, I had a blast playing with you guys, both of you. I think one of the things that strikes me about both of you is that you actually play the game when you're out there, and there are players, maybe it's their first time, maybe they don't know what their potential is, and what I mean is that they're actively not trying to make relationships, which sounds like kind of what Dylan was doing to you, saying like, you're not going to play this game with this person, Jenny. I'm going to do that. And to me, as a Survivor fan, and I look for all the different ways people play the game, to me, that's restrictive. You're not actually, maybe that is your game, but I don't really appreciate it too much. I want to be able to talk freely with whoever I want to be able to talk to. And so I guess that Boston Rob strategy doesn't really fly with me.
No, yeah, the buddy system, it doesn't work. And people, they try to attest that I like to do that with people, that I like to do the buddy system, where we all just hang around in camp, and if you go off on your own and you strategize, you'll get targeted. That's like, it's not like I say to people, no one leave. I just sit there and I'll continue to just laugh and have a good time until other people start walking around and leaving. Will I target you? Maybe, but it's like, if everyone's walking around strategizing, I'm part of the group too. I'm doing that as well. If no one is, I'm not going to be the only one strategizing. And yeah, again, I never say to anyone, no, you can't talk to them. No, I don't. You make me uneasy when you talk to people, because I think that's usually a mistake. Because what you're really just saying to the person is, I don't trust you. And that's why from day one at Tribal Council, when Jaira asked, who here feels like they're in danger? And everyone said, oh, I feel unsafe. I feel like I could go home. I was the only one who said, nope, not going to be me. I feel very safe. Look, I made these bonds with these people. They told me they weren't voting me out. Why the hell would I go to them in 10 minutes and say, yeah, I don't really trust them. I feel like they might be lying to me. Yeah, of course I feel safe. I should. Even if I don't feel safe, I'm going to say I feel safe, because if there's a plan in motion, I want everyone in my group to know that I fully trust them 100%.
Speaking of plans, so you're at the merge.
Mm-hmm.
Things look pretty easy, I guess, for you, right? The Mitchell vote, 6-4. But when did you? Yeah, well, I want to know, when did you think that you could possibly win this game? Like, when did it really click in? Because I know for some players, there's like a moment where you're like, oh, I just hit the precipice.
It was probably once right after I survived the Tribal Council against when Matthew went home, when Kevin had his big blow up. And I was like, look, it made so much sense for Dylan and, well, not really, but to a degree kind of did, for Dylan and Stevie and Luke to be like, you know what? Even though we like you, Tyler, we need the idol. We need Kevin. We need everyone to feel comfortable. You need to go. Like, we're sorry it has to be this way, but you're just making too many problems for us for your reputation, and we can move on without you. When they chose to stick with me over someone with an idol, which could be very beneficial to them, that's when I thought, okay, I think I got this. I think I have the pre-merge set up, and I think once they get to the merge, Andrew and Aiden seem like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I can maybe I can win this. I knew I just had to get past 8. If I got past 8, I knew it was very clear if I still had Andrew and Aiden in the game. But I felt pretty good. I was like, I think I can win this game. Although getting to the final 2 in any scenario, that's tricky. Like I always knew third or fourth was probably going to be my end point. But I thought, hey, maybe I can actually make the top 4.
And I mean, there's always that opportunity that you do just win the challenge, and then you can slide through.
But I don't understand that part of the game, right? Like people say this, oh, just win immunity. I'm like, what? I have to do well in the challenge.
but doesn't that inadvertently help your game too? I mentioned this in the podcast. I'm like, why wouldn't you take Tyler further? Like everybody's like, you got to vote him out. You got to vote him out. And I'm like, wait, are you thinking about this correctly? Because is he going to win a challenge against you? I think you can take him really deep. So like I it seems like right there you solidified the Pink Boys, right? Where you were talking about. Did you think that you would be able to get past 4 without winning immunity, or did you think that's what you had to do?
I thought there was a chance. Like I thought, but people don't understand. Like it wasn't clear cut that I was going home at 4. Like Stevie and Luke debated about it. There were reasons to keep me because of my challenge performances, and this is the secret of my challenge performances of why I'm perceived as really bad instead of maybe actually. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I throw challenges because that's not true. I'm by no means really good at them, but my philosophy kind of is if I know I'm not going to win this challenge, come in last, be dreadful. Why the hell am I going to tire myself out to come in 3rd or 2nd in a challenge? If you know you're losing the challenge, even if you really need immunity, who gives a shit? Do whatever you want in that challenge. That's why in the final 4 challenge, in that endurance challenge, I thought, I don't think I'm going to win this. So I dropped out in 12 minutes of the challenge when everyone else lasted an hour and a half plus. Obviously, I could stand there for more than 12 minutes. Duh. But I just wanted people to think, oh, Tyler is so weak, we can bring him to the final 3, and maybe we'll have a for sure chance in the final 2. Because then, obviously, whoever wins is voting him out. So that was my pitch to Stevie and Luke, which they debated. They chose not to take it. I think it made sense for Luke not to take that decision. But I think Stevie, it could have been – maybe he should have. I mean, I don't want to be like, hindsight's 2020, but I think there's the argument there. So, yeah, I agree. I think – and this is to any future player who's watching this and ever wants to play. If you're not going to win the challenge – come in last. It is so much better for your game. If you have a reputation of just sucking in every challenge, that's really good for you. Because you know what? Anyone can win any challenge at any point, and sometimes it shocks you.
For those of you listening, there's a lot of truth to be taken in that. And also to kind of jump on that, to not always come across as the nicest person. Mm-hmm. That's not always a bad thing in Survivor.
Yeah, and that's something I have done, and I did that a bit in season 5, and I did it even more in season 7. Look, the problem is when you come as a former winner, there's just this idea that you get to the end no matter what you win. So it's really hard to shake that perception. But that's why a lot of times I was a cocky asshole to everyone. I wanted to be mean to them. I wanted them to think, yeah, you know what, we could beat him. Did I have fun with it? 100%. But I also knew they were like, oh, this guy, I really don't want him to win. At the merge, you guys didn't see this, but, they had the game dollars, right? And, I thought, oh, maybe I should, steal that to see what would happen. I could still, they're all sleeping. But I thought, no, I'm going to wait till they wake up. I'm going to go right in front of their faces and steal all their money. And I did. And, you can just do things like that in the game that people, they won't vote you out over it. Eat more food at camp. Be annoying. They're not going to vote you out over those reasons, and then they'll think, oh, I can beat you in the end. It never has an effect. I always eat the most food at any camp I'm at, and no one's ever like, Tyler eats a lot of food. Really got to vote him out this time. It's just people are so concerned of playing this these small social interactions perfectly, but it does nothing. All it does is people think, oh, he's a really nice guy. He'll probably beat me in the end. You want to be able to point at moments in the game when you were an asshole, say, you can beat me in the end.
I would say the only point where you don't want to be the annoying asshole or eating all the food would be the very first vote if you go to tribal council, because people always look for the stupidest reason to vote somebody out that first vote, and if it's they're eating too much food, they'll do it. But for Tyler, it's different. Everyone, he has a reputation, everyone knows his reputation, so you can do whatever you want at that point. They're not going to vote you out because you're eating food. But if it's a whole newbies cast and you lose that first vote, maybe chill on the annoying. But
yeah, and if it's all newbies, I say just do what everyone else is doing. Just literally do that for the first vote. You'll be fine. Talk enough. Don't talk the least. Don't talk the most. And then be a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
So we have a question in the comments. Laura, who I think is related to Kevin, same last name. She's asking, do you really have a heart condition? Do you want to go into that, Tyler, or not?
I do. I do have a heart condition. I've had 7 open heart surgeries throughout my life. To the degree that it still affects me, it does to a degree. Like I guess I could get like in like complete like sprinting back and forth. That's probably my kryptonite. But other things like you just adapt. You learn to live with it. Like I do have a heart condition. I have scars on my body like this. But yeah, that is true. Like and I bonded to Stevie over that because his nephew has a very similar condition to mine. But yeah.
Yeah, so Laura, I remember, I don't know if this will make an episode, but Tyler told me that or told us that in season 5. And I remember kind of having the same question, is this a truth or a lie? So that's valid.
Yeah. Anything I ever say, you guys can ask is true or not. Like no matter how deep, dark it feels, feel free to question me and I'll tell you the truth. Outside the game. Inside the game, it might be a lie. But no, I do have a heart condition.
So, gosh, so we're kind of still at Merge. We've talked a lot about strategy. So much happened at the Merge in this game. It was really riveting. There was a lot of twists. I mean, there's so much that I feel like I'll miss talking about. At one point, you're trying to vote out Dylan, and then this is where we kind of switch and take Dylan back onto your side. Yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to talk about? There were so many idle plays, misplayed
the final
idols,
line that I want to talk about.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
My game kind of falls apart like in my hands all at once. So when the merge happened was I always knew I could get Andrew and Aiden to flip. Not because they're my friends and do whatever I said. I think it's just there's no point of me flipping to a majority tribe that's all trying to vote me out. Like we can never sell that. Like yeah, I really want to work with these people who are voting me this round. But look, I'm a very loyal player, actually. I would do anything for my allies and my friends. I'm not going to turn them. Aiden and Andrew are great guys, but for whatever reason, they had trouble making the Pink Boys feel safe with them. They were very uneasy with them since the start. And I thought maybe the Mitch vote would prove that. But even after that, Dylan from day one wanted Andrew gone at the merge. 100%. And then fast forward to the final 9 immunity challenge. It seems pretty clear we should all be against Knight in the one where he tried to splash water off cup. It was a social challenge. And he ends up winning immunity, largely because the final 4 in that challenge were Knight, Stevie, Luke, and Dylan. And Dylan proceeds to attack Stevie and Luke while they're trying to get rid of Knight. And this is another moment I saw. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing that? And I don't think he was slurring it, but it's because he had an agenda of his own. He wanted Andrew gone that round. He didn't want Knight. He even mentioned prior that he likes Knight in the game. Knight says because Knight would flirt with him. You can talk more about that with Knight. That's what I've been told from Knight. I don't know how true that is, but he's a good-looking kid, so it might be true. And then what had happened was, Knight goes to an immunity, and I'm pissed. I'm like, fuck that. Like, why would you do that? Then Dylan sends himself to the Island Pathmos and puts a $500 bounty on Andrew's head that he needs to get. And this comes back to the final tribal. Like, this is what very irritated me. And then he says to us that, we have to get rid of Andrew for the $500. But, I did all I could to push that plan off Andrew onto Keenan. Like, let's blindside Keenan and the idol instead. So that became the plan for a bit. But then we were so paranoid about idols, it got moved to Aiden because they would never see it coming. Because we also had Stevie's extra vote for that round. And that's, I did the very best that I could to try to get it off them. They were not budging. They wanted Aiden gone. There's nothing I could say. And at that point, I was like, look, Aiden and Andrew are my boys. I got to flip, I guess. I knew it wasn't good for my game, but I was like, look, Andrew, Aiden, you guys are, no one trusts you. No one likes you. They want you gone. I'll help you vote off Dylan, do the best that I can, but let's see what it is. And then Andrew said to me, he's like, I could get Keenan to vote Dylan. I'm like, okay, you can. That would be really helpful if you could. Obviously, they could not. So he talks to Keenan. That doesn't work out. And in my last-ditch effort right before Tribal, I knew Aiden was done. I went up to Knight and said, just vote Dylan. Try not to talk to anyone. This is a secret plan. Vote Dylan, and he can work out. And rightfully so. He used that against me at Tribal. Jenny and him jumped on the plan to vote off Aiden. I still stood by Aiden, even though I knew he was going. I could have written his name down and pretended that I was actually never going to deviate from the plan, but I don't do that. That's not the kind of player I am. I stood there, voted Dylan with Aiden and Andrew, and Aiden was on his way.
It was close.
More
time? No.
Sorry?
If you had more time, could you have pulled it off?
Um, it's hard to say. Like the issue is, I could not. No one could read Keenan. So like you'd come to Keenan with the plan, and he'd be like, "Bingo!" And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but all right, I guess you're on board.
Sorry, brother.
Like, yeah, sorry, brother, not this time. Oh my god, he votes me that round too, even though no one else did. But like, yeah, I don't know what I could do. I would do literally everything I could to protect them in the game. And I'll stand by them when I do it. But yeah, I just don't think the moves are in the cards that round. I think no one trusted Andrew and Aiden after that. My alliance didn't trust them. Their group didn't trust them. A big part of the reason was because they lied about flipping. And I told them to do this only because Andrew seemed very concerned that they would be caught. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to be caught, the best to do is just keep lying about it, because then no one really knows for sure then. And that's what they did, and then no one trusted them, and they were on their way, unfortunately.
What do you think Andrew and Aiden could have done differently to like maybe survive that?
I think
But-
Andrew and Aiden should have spent so much more time building bonds with Stevie and Dylan. I think if Stevie and Dylan felt like they swayed Andrew and Aiden instead of myself swaying them, I think that makes them feel a lot more comfortable in the game. And I think also if Andrew wasn't a 220-pound beast, I think that helped this game a lot too. So, yeah, that's what we could have done differently, I think. But it's all in fun. So like they were on their way. I was sad, but I was like, I can survive this, and I think that's my most proud moment of the game is after I betrayed the Pink Boys, I was able to get back in their good graces very quickly. I told them the truth. I was like, look, Luke, you're a guy who respects loyalty. I was loyal to a fault. Andrew and Aiden are my very good friends outside this game, and I would do anything for them. I should have told you, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but they're my boys, and I will continue to work with Andrew now, even though Aiden's gone. And that's just how it's going to be. I'll help you guys other than that, but, I'm never going to vote off Andrew. I told him the truth. And I even said to him, and this is my hope, I had like an agenda with this, but I said, if you want to vote off Andrew, don't tell me about it. Just do it. Don't tell me. I'll still work with you guys. Because I wanted Luke and the Alliance to feel comfortable knowing that I'm still with them. It's just Andrew's in the way. And I thought if they feel comfortable enough with Andrew that I can control Zone and me, maybe I could squeeze Andrew into the final 7, and that's when I can, make a move again. But honestly, with the twist, I just voted Andrew out. And after that, though, I never felt in danger. In the final 7, Knight and Jenny and Keenan all seemed to think I was on the bottom, but I knew I was still good with them. I knew that we could recover from this, and that's something that I really liked about Luke's game. Luke was able to forgive and be like, all right, let's regroup. Someone deviated from the plan. We're all still here somehow. Let's just keep going forth. We have the numbers. This makes the most sense.
So I'm glad you brought up Luke, because I'm curious what your perspective is on him. So we saw a lot of Stevie and Dylan's contributions to the Pink Boys, strategically talking with players, and confessionals. What do you think was some of his contributions to the Alliance?
Luke's contribution is that he was the glue of the group. Luke was able to calm everyone down, get everyone to work together. Everyone in the group trusted Luke. Everyone wanted Luke at the final 2 with them. And that was pivotal of why the Pink Boys 2.0 were so successful. Even when things like this happened, we would all stick together. We'd all come back around. Dylan has a slip up in the final 6, and Luke was very good. Like, no, we have to stay focused. We're almost at the final 4. And that was best for Luke's game, too, because we all wanted to take him to the end. Luke didn't have these flashy moves. Luke wasn't the one swaying people or making these strategic, I don't want to say decisions, but like plays. But he didn't need to. He was just the guy that everyone trusted. And when you're in that position, keep it. Why would you ever stray away from that? You're set. And when it came to like strategic decision making, I think a lot of new players have a problem with this. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's like, whose idea was it? Who was the one to first say Jenny in the final 7 that all got us to vote off Jenny? I say, who the hell cares who's the first one to say it? We're all talking in a group. discussing every possibility. It's not like we don't know other players in the game. It's like, oh, I didn't even think we could vote off Jenny this round. Obviously, everyone knew. And I think a lot of people like Dylan. Dylan really wanted this. He wanted to be the one like, no, I said the name and then we did it. I don't think it really matters. If someone comes up with a plan that's really good for my game, yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't care that I'm not the one who said it. Whatever. People are too worried about perceptions and how they'll look to the jury and how they'll look in the game. If you're in a good position and you can argue that case well, you don't need to be the one saying all these things. And I think Luke was really good at understanding that. He never got butthurt that it wasn't his idea. And I think that's something why he was really successful.
So when you went to jury, did you look at it as it was an opportunity for you to advocate for him instead of trying to figure out whose game was better? Was your goal to sway other jury members?
So after I lost Andrew, I figured, okay, I think I'm in a situation now where I can get to the final four pretty handedly. I think I'm in a good spot. I don't think I can win. Now in the final five, however, if Luke wanted to, I would have voted out Dylan with Knight. Like I would have brought Knight to the final four because I think that was obviously the right move for me. But I didn't think I could get Luke on board. And I figured, you know what, I'm not going to win anyways. Luke's been a really good guy to me this game. I wanted Luke to win. Luke was my friend. I was like, I hope Luke wins. So I did advocate for Luke a lot after I was voted out. That was like I wasn't going to do anything that would hurt Luke's game, so I wouldn't make flashy moves like that. And I thought he deserves it. So like it was part of like I like Luke and I thought he deserved it. And people don't appreciate those kinds of games anymore. They don't appreciate the old school games. So I thought this is my chance not only to advocate for Luke himself, but I thought it was also a chance for me to advocate for that old style of gameplay that I think is just as valid as the new school, making your own strategic decisions and big moves. I think that in Survivor culture, there needs to be another Eric Cardona speech when he said to Russell Hentz, "Why is your game any better than Natalie's game?" Philosophically, I think there's something to that, and I was kind of trying to do that with these people. It's like, well, why did Luke have to make decisions? He was their glue. Like, why on earth would he ever deviate from a plan where everyone wanted him in the final two? 0 votes cast against him. Every person he wanted to go on each round went home. I didn't really see like that many flaws with the game. So yeah, 100% I advocated for Luke.
So you would have gone to the end with Luke, given
100%.
the choice.
Yeah.
You don't think you would have beaten him?
Oh, I do. I think I beat him. I think I beat Luke pretty single-handedly. I think, like, I love Luke, but like, there's very few people who I didn't think I could beat in the final two, and whether or not I deserved the win or not, to me wasn't important. I just figured, I think I was a better speaker than everyone else in the game, and I figured that the jury would just be like, well, he came in with a giant target on his back. Yeah, you could say, oh, he had pre-existing relationships. I can argue against that. I think I beat Luke in the end. And because I think also, then I'm also not advocating for Luke to win. When I came into the jury, Luke was on the bottom of everyone's list. No one thought anything of him, if he thought he deserved it or not. And I do think I really brought him up as a serious player. I think everyone made their own decisions on the jury. I'm not saying I had control over anyone's vote, but I think it's just arguments people didn't consider. They just don't think this way. And like Luke was always getting Keenan's vote too. So like there's that. But there's a lot of issues of why Keenan would vote for a certain player that I particularly, well, I mean, we can get into it if you guys are curious, but I have my own theories of why Keenan votes the way he does.
Please.
I'm curious. Keenan's the king of mixed metaphors. I'd love to hear about his strategy.
So listen, I don't want to put any words in Keenan's mouth. He's never outwardly said this, but he's made a lot of comments to me in the game about certain ways he uses to describe people. So I'll say this. To me, it never crossed my mind that Dylan or Stevie was gay. I knew Stevie was gay, obviously, but I never I just didn't care. And I don't think Keenan's homophobic, but I think Keenan is very aware when people are gay. Like Keenan makes the conscious effort to know you're gay. He said things like at the jury, he said to us, he's like, "Oh, I stripped my clothes in the first challenge." And I was like, "Yeah, it was useless, man. You were winning anyways." Right? Like, you just wanted to show off, joking with him. And he said to me and Knight very seriously, "Well, do I need to remind you that there are 3 gay men on the other tribe? I'm like, you think they're just gonna be that distracted? Like, what do you think? I'm like, well, if I get naked, all the straight girls will just go crazy and not know what to do with themselves. So he had those very certain ideas of the game. And he's just made other comments where I think that was just in his head, and I think he draws certain perceptions of how gay men are, like, somewhat more womanly or weak, like just stereotypes like that. And I think it's really hard for him to shake those preconceived notions. And then when there's any sort of like emotion that Dylan may arrive from, he easily attributes to that and writes it off completely. So I think, unfortunately, it was very hard for Keenan not to vote that. But that's just who Keenan is. I don't think he's homophobic. I just think, he tries his best to, be a good guy, but he just has these preconceived notions that I think people should be aware of if you're ever playing a game with him. He does think this way, and that's just who he is.
Yeah, and I think of the entire jury, everyone was open-minded but Keenan.
Yeah,
after watching that roundtable, everyone was raising points for each, whereas Keenan was so on the Luke train and wouldn't hear any of the Dylan points, which was kind of, from a production standpoint, just a little bit upsetting. But everyone's entitled to their own vote. They can vote however they want to vote. It's fine. But when you're so close-minded like that, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to do a little speculation. Taylor, maybe you can help out with this. So let's say in a hypothetical world, we are at the final 4 immunity challenge, and Stevie still wins. Let's say Stevie wins. And instead, we go to a 2-2 vote. I think you were trying to get that to happen, Tyler.
Yeah.
What happens at Survivor BC if there is a 2-2 vote in season 7?
We had fire making ready. An actual fire making. We had it in the very first challenge too, but we had fire making ready, yes.
And I know how to make fire with flint.
So there is a good chance, there is an opportunity for Tyler to sneak to final 3 in that scenario. But then that challenge, that was a really rough challenge.
Yeah, I didn't understand what it was. I haven't really gone back and looked at it. Are you just holding a cup with your foot? I don't know. I have long toes. I would go as long as I could with that. But yeah, it's up there. Maybe somehow grace of God, I pull it up. Maybe I don't. But yeah, I didn't think it was impossible. I thought that was my path. If I could just get to the final 3, somehow win the challenge, I think I can win the game the second time.
If the game, let's do another speculation. It is a final 3. So let's say, somehow, well, you're there, right? So that would be, let's say, who would get eliminated there? Luke or Dylan in the round before? Dylan, most likely.
Yeah.
So, yes, because Dylan's got the other vote. So it's Stevie, you, Luke, final tribal council. Ooh, what happens?
I think Stevie gives me a run for my money. I think he gets more votes than people perceive. But I do think I still believe I could pull it out. Just from what I've seen of the jury's talks before the people showed up. But I think it'd be close. I don't think I would be 100% blow him out of the water. But I think Stevie has a serious chance of winning the game at that point. So.
Yeah, I think it'd be very split between Tyler and Stevie and Luke getting more votes.
I think I would get Andrew and Aiden's vote. Handily.
I think you wind up getting Knight's vote as well.
I think I get Keenan's vote. So I guess and then Jenny and Dylan would probably vote. Although no, the problem and Dylan would vote me if any of the Pink Boys took me further than them, they would probably give me the vote because they'd be pissed, right? Because the idea was always I was him at 4th, so it'd be all right, you're taking Tyler in. So yeah, I guess I do beat Stevie. But no, I think Stevie would have given me a really hard time in the final tribal council. He's a great speaker. He's a great guy. I could see why people would want to vote for him. And there's always this mentality that people wouldn't want to give it to a former winner. They thought I had helped with pre-existing relationships. They could have used it as a crutch, which is totally valid. But I think it would have been very interesting to see.
I agree. And I wonder if, I don't like modern Survivor where it's, there's no more voting essentially from final 4 on. And
yeah,
it means you can idle your way. But is is this kind of an example of this? Like, Tyler, you're eliminated at 4, Stevie's out at 3. It's kind of the clear possible winners. We see this in season after season. I mean, do LRGs need to twist it up, or do we just need better strategy for these players?
That's what makes the game difficult, right? If you want to, you can play this amazing game and just get to the finals, right? The best players get voted out at the end for a reason, because the truth is they weren't really the best players that season. Just because you're the ones making the moves, having the social dynamics, that's not what the good Survivor player does. The best way you can play the game is to be second or third in control, ride it out to the end, vote those big players out, and give a great final tribal speech. That's the way to do it. It's not as interesting, but I think I've always been a big advocate that the winner of the season doesn't really matter to me as long as it's a good season and you have good characters throughout. Like, the winner is the winner. But yeah, that's why I love Survivor BC. I love that it's a final 2. I love that they don't do twists like that. Yeah, it's much harder for me to get to the end, but that's just how the game is supposed to be. It's not supposed. I shouldn't be allowed to come in, call myself the king, and make all these moves and piss everyone off, then idle myself to the final 4, then win a fire-making challenge and win the game. To me, that's stupid. I wouldn't have deserved it then.
So, Tyler, I kind of want to open the floor. We're getting close to the end of this podcast. I want to open the floor. Is there anything that you want to get off your chest? Any memories, any experiences you want to talk about?
Tons. I really like to, like, I just want to say, I really like my relationship with Knight during the game. Knight and I were huge rivals. I think from day one, we both knew, yeah, this is the guy in the tribe and the other tribe were the ones that were going to clash. But Knight and I were actually like the best of friends out there. Like, we'd always go back to camp, we'd be laughing, making jokes together, and then, when the game would turn on, we'd all try to vote each other out every round. And, we were never quite successful until near the end. But no, he was someone who I really enjoyed in the game, who I just loved going against, because we have such different philosophies on how the game's supposed to be played. But personally, we get along great. We had so many laughs out there. I think this is the funniest season I've ever been a part of. One of my favorite memories is, you can find the video too. It's out there. I remember Knight took me to the McDonald's for like the Hero Challenge date. And I was asking questions like, okay, who's running your tribe? Like, who's in charge? And he kept trying to tell me Keenan. And I'm like, there's no way, man. Like, I know. I know he's not the guy running your tribe. But he insisted. And I was like, this is bullshitting me, obviously. He's not running the tribe. And fast forward, we get to the merge, talking after the feast. It's Andrew, Knight, and myself. Taylor's filming. Then Keenan all of a sudden makes this announcement that he does not have an idol. And he strips naked, unexpectedly, runs to the camp naked. We're just standing there in shock. Then I turned to Knight and I said to Knight, so this is the guy running the show, right? This is what you've been telling me. And we just laughed our heads off. We knew it was BS. But it was really funny. And that, again, that's just a Keenan's perpetrator. And little do you know, Kurt, I don't know if the viewers know this. Keenan makes the final 2. Keenan wins the game.
You heard it here first. What?
100%. Yeah, that is true. Yes.
No way. How?
Yeah.
How?
So, like, let's say hypothetically Knight and Keenan make it to the final 2. Because I think that was Knight's plan. Andrew and Aiden are voting for Keenan. They think he's hilarious. They really enjoyed him. I'm voting for Keenan because I like it. I think that'd be a funny ending. And Luke was not a fan of Knight out there, and he was a fan of Keenan. And this is how I'll say with Keenan. Keenan is playing a social game, and I met Keenan years ago. He recognized me from Survivor Canada, talked my ear off, added me on Facebook. So Keenan has a huge social disadvantage. I don't want to speak to him, or speak for him, but he has a social disadvantage. People sometimes have conditions where those things don't come as easy for them, and he was one of those people. And he's playing a super social game. If someone with that kind of condition can get to the final 2 in a social game, like, what am I supposed to say to them? Why didn't you make this kind of social move? Well, probably because he just literally couldn't. That would be like me going to a person in a wheelchair. I'm like, well, why didn't you win as many challenges as you should have? Well, yeah, man, I'm in a wheelchair, right? So, I mean, he makes it to the end. He wanted it more than anyone. He gave all his heart. He would try his very best in the end, and I think he would actually pull it off. And it's really upsets Knight when people say it, like really upsets Knight, but I don't think he beats him. I think Keenan beats me. Andrew and Aiden are good friends of mine. They tell me they vote Keenan over myself. Like Keenan is a serious threat to win this game. He was the GOAT that everyone thought was the GOAT, and when you bring him to the end, he was going to win.
I have a hard time believing that just because, like, when Aiden and Andrew got eliminated, they, even as, like, people got voted off, it was always Knight. They wanted Knight to win. If Knight makes it to the end, he wins. But then you get voted off, and then it kind of changes. So I feel like if Keenan did win, it's because you influenced Aiden and Andrew's vote to vote.
Oh, I would. You think I was Magic or Luke? I'd be even much bigger advocate for Keenan. That boy, I don't know. Maybe it's like the troll in me, but like having like a ridiculous winner is also just brings so much joy to me. Like as if Keenan somehow won the game. He's such a like he has his issues, but he's a good-hearted guy who means the very best for everyone at the end of the day. And I do think, he has the story to win, right? Like if you can make it to the end with that kind of condition in the game, I think really good on you. Who are we to say that, like, just because you couldn't make every strategic decision soundly? Well, of course not, but you still made it.
You definitely influenced me. If I'm on the jury, Tyler, I'm voting for Keenan now. So congratulations. Good job.
I appreciate it. I'm glad. You see, this is what I'm trying to do. I want everyone to know that Keenan was the player of the season. He should come back for All-Stars, and he's going to win. And I know you're talking to Knight later, so I bring this up to him. He'll get very, very pissed. He says if he lost to Keenan, he would have stormed out and drove off right then, which I would pay to see. So he's just making it more to vote for Keenan to win.
That would be great. You should post a comment while I'm talking to him, so I remember to bring it up while I talk to him.
Oh, 100%.
So we're hitting the hour mark, and we're trying to keep these around there. There's so much more I feel like I could get into your head about, Tyler. So I hope you're into talking about this stuff. I'd love to hear from you more.
I'm always talking to you, Kurt. I love talking about Survivor and all these things. And the fact that people want to hear what I say is still mind-boggling to me. A, I thought they hated me. And B, I thought of the viewers, there was like 4 of them. So
it's kind of expanding. It's really cool. And I mean, even if you're hated or considered icy by some, you're still a winner. You won for a reason. And I want to leave people remembering Tyler taught us that Final Tribal Council is not your final confessional. And you don't have to be straight up about everything. You just have to get the vote.
Oh yeah, that's one more. Yeah, that's one more thing I quickly want to touch on before we end this. My final speech to Dylan in the final 2. I didn't think I was being harsh. Like at the time, I thought I'm just asking this guy questions, and so I want everyone to know I have no ill will against Dylan. I wasn't bitter. It's just he lied about the Andrew thing in the Final Tribal Council, and I know you guys knew he lied about that, and I just want to get the truth out of him. I guess my lawyer skills came out there where I was really good at like cutting him off, and people say, "Oh, it's rude to cut people." Oh, this is a skill I want to teach everyone too. Actually. They'll say when you're arguing with people, it's rude to cut people off and you shouldn't do it. You should listen. No, cut people off. There's a term and a strategy people do in debates called gish galloping, where what they'll do is they'll list a bunch of things that may or may not be true in order to let them finish, and then you don't have time to go to each point to break down. So if they're leaving the point or not talking what you want to talk about, cut them off and say, nope, get back to the point. Don't let them gish gallop you, ever. Because it's an effective strategy that they use that you can cut off. But yeah, I didn't think I was being harsh. I have no ill will towards Dylan. I think he's a great guy. I didn't think I was being mean. That's just like the philosophy major and hopefully future lawyer in me coming out.
Yeah, I don't think you were being mean. I think it was just the pressure and like how direct you were being that got to him.
Yeah. And I apologized to him profusely after that. Even I was like, oh, I didn't mean to upset you, man.
Yeah, it was clearly the buildup of the entire experience, the whole game. He's finally there. And then the emotion came out. I still think had that emotion come out a couple rounds earlier, that would have been a better sway for the look of the jury. Right then was a pivotal error. I hope I get to talk to Dylan, or somebody gets to talk to Dylan on a podcast just to get a sense of what he went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a fantastic guy who deserved the win just as much as Luke. If he was the winner, I think just as good as Luke too. I'm a big believer whoever wins. And even though we had differences, like again, I think Dylan's our biggest differences is just game philosophies. What I appreciate in the game is just different from what Dylan appreciates in the game, which is different from what Knight appreciates in the game.
And it was a 4-3 vote. So in the long run, it's as close as you can possibly get in Survivor. So with that, my friends, we're going to call this one to a close. In a couple hours, we are going to be back with some more deep dive into season 7. Tyler Taylor, it's been a blast. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we will see you later.
Bye-bye.